Welcome to the second question clip on our Chapter 3 question. If you can recall, this is on Freshers. That's the entity that we're working with. We previously dealt with the A part of the required, where we analyzed all the transactions in the question. And now we're going to go over to the B and the C part, where we have to draft the statements. The reason for this question is so that you can see that you can't communicate your financial information by means of an analysis of each and every transaction. So we now want to summarize these transactions and the result of those in a statement of profit or loss and a statement of financial position. I'm first going to deal with the B part, the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. And for that reason, we need to draw up a framework for answering this question. In this framework, you will see that we start off with the name of the entity, Freshers, and then we provide a heading for the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. This heading needs to be completed so that we can indicate what we're trying to portray in this statement. Statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, as stated in the required part, is for a specific period. This is for financial performance, and a performance is not a static event, it's a continuous event. So we want to, in the heading, already indicate that we're trying to calculate the financial performance. So if we complete our heading, it's statement for profit or loss and other comprehensive income for the month, in this case, ended 31 October 20.4. So if the result of this statement is profit for the month, they can just refer back, which month is this? This is the month ended 31 October 20.4. If we can quickly just run through the framework for answering this question, a statement of profit or loss will result in the profit for the month. This profit for the month is calculated by first calculating your gross profit, which is the result of your trading activities. So you will see that this income item at the top, the sales, that is your main activities. And we don't call it sales, we're going to use an alternative word here, and that is revenue. Revenue is the same as sales, we're just going to adjust the total sales with a few items during later chapters. From this revenue amount, we're going to have to deduct the cost of sales to get to the gross profit. Gross profit is the result of your trading activities. That's why they sometimes call this part of the statement the trading statement as well. Other income as a heading reserved for income items different from your sales, from your main activities. So in this example, we had rent income, it can be interest income, it can be commission income, any income other than your sales. Then we have our last heading here for other expenses in this case, and here you just list all the expenses other than cost of sales, so that we can calculate the profit for the month. In this particular question, in a previous question clip, we already dealt with an analysis of each transaction, so I'm just going to use this analysis if you want to grab hold of that. Use this analysis to complete the statement of profit or loss. Now, statement of profit or loss is under equity, so if we can quickly have a look at the equity items that we can include in this statement. Assets, equity, and liabilities. So we're just going to focus on equity for now. The capital contribution of the owner does not form part of the profit calculation, so we're going to have a look at these two columns, the income column and the expense column. Those two transactions, if you can recall, those were the sales transactions, and then we had a small little other income item which we will put in the applicable spot in my statement of profit or loss. So if I take those two items, the income items, the 8,400 and the 7,200, and I'm going to add them as sales. Remember, we account for the accrual concept, so regardless of whether we've received the money for the sales or not, both cash and credit sales will form part of my statement of profit or loss, so that I can include both of those amounts in my eventual calculation of the profit. So the 8,400 plus the 7,200 will give me the 15,600 Rand. If we can go back to our analysis, we've included those two income items, and now in the analysis we see that we have 140 Rand that we still have not communicated to the users of the financial statements. That additional income item will be classified as my other income, and I just list it as rent income of 140 Rand. So we've made use of our income column and we've accounted for the sales as well as the rent income. If we can run through the framework of this question or the solution, we started off with the revenue, which you saw in the analysis that I just showed. The second item that we included in our framework was cost of sales. Cost of sales will be classified under the expenses in our analysis of transactions, and these expenses we want to match with those two income items. So for each selling price, we will include the cost price as well, and you'll see that the fact that it is an expense is indicated in a bracket. Please don't use a term in front here where you say minus or less. We indicate deduction by using brackets, not a minus or a red pen or anything, just the brackets. So if we take our revenue then of 15,600 minus the cost of sales of 10,400, you'll see the resulting gross profit, so that's the result of my trading activities, is 5,200 Rand. We already discussed the other income. In this question, we only had one item, so we can just leave the 140 Rand there. But you'll see as soon as you have more than one amount to be included under a heading, we're going to indicate adding up all of those amounts using a block and then just put the total at the top. All of these expenses, repairs, rent expense, stationery and interest, they were all analyzed when I did the analysis of the transaction as expenses other than cost of sales. So if I now take my gross profit, which I calculated at the top, plus the 140 Rand other income, minus all my other expenses, I get my resulting profit for the month of 1,620, and that's exactly what the heading of the statement told me. I want to prepare a statement portraying either the profit or loss and other comprehensive income. That's the B part of the question. If we can go back to your question and have a look at part C. Part C, they ask us to draft the statement of financial position of Freshers as at 31 October 20.4. You'll see this required part is a bit different from that one because they tell us to do this as at a specific date. That was for the month, and this one is as at. So if I draw up my framework while I'm writing the heading for this, think about what you're writing at the top here. It's for entity Freshers and a statement of financial position as at a specific date, 31 October. And this one is quite self-explanatory because they tell you it's a financial position. You'll remember in the B part we had the financial performance. Position is a static, so this is a snapshot of value as at a specific date. So I'm just going to include my basic accounting equation as at 31 October 20.4, resulting in the framework being a vertical portrayal of the basic accounting equation. Assets at the top, equity and liabilities at the bottom. My assets, I can classify either as non-current or current assets. Non-current assets will be the ones that you can apply in your entity for more than 12 months, so they have a lasting benefit, whereas your current assets will be utilized within the next 12 months. You don't have to utilize everything, but as soon as you start using it the very next day, it can be classified as a current asset. like your money in the bank, you won't be able to go 12 months without using your money in the bank, or your inventory will be part of your trading activities within the next 12 months. These non-current and current assets will be added up as total assets, and then I can continue to compare my total assets to my total equity and liabilities. For equity and liabilities, I have a heading for my equity, so all the transactions regarding equity will be included here. Now you won't make a calculation of profit or loss visible to the users here again, because you already did the calculation of the profit or loss in the previous statement. So this part of the statement of financial position will be linked to the statement of profit or loss. I will show you that just now. Then we can classify our liabilities again as non-current and current, payable after 12 months or payable within the next 12 months, resulting in my total equity and liabilities at the bottom. If we refer back to your analysis that you did, this makes it so much easier. We just have a look at the headings that we need to include in our statement of financial position that has not been included in any other statement yet. So we've dealt with income and expenses, and now we'll have to deal with all of these other headings. Under assets, we had equipment with a total of 65. Remember, the heading of our statement is not at the start of the month for financial position, but the end of the month. So I'm going to use all these totals at the bottom here. For equipment, we had a total of 65,000. So I will just include that 65,000 either as a current or non-current asset. And equipment can be utilized for more than 12 months. So under my non-current assets, I will include my equipment as 65,000 Rand. This 65,000 Rand, I can have a number of non-current assets. So I add up all the non-current assets as a total next to the non-current asset term that I put down there. For the current assets, if you refer back to your analysis, inventory, debtors, and bank, all of those are classified as current assets, and I use again the totals at the bottom, 31st of October. So for my inventory, my debtors, and my bank, I included all of those totals, add them up in a block, and that total of current assets plus the total for the non-current assets will give me my total assets. This total assets amount must now be equal to basic accounting equation, assets equal to equity and liabilities. And then I just show them how I got to this balancing the duality concept. Under equity, like we already discussed, we're not going to have a calculation of the profit again because we already did this calculation over there as a result of the statement of profit or loss. So I can just include my profit for the month as a line item under my equity. And then in my analysis, I had another column under equity, which was the capital contribution of the owner. At the end of the month, it was 57,000, so I include that as an equity item for capital, 57,000 Rand. During the period, the financial period, in this case a month, I can also have withdrawals by the owner. In this case, we didn't have any drawings, so that's just a 0. If you had drawings, that would be a decrease in equity, which will be indicated by using brackets. In my analysis, I also had a loan, which is payable after 12 months, non-current, so the 30,000, as well as trade creditors, the people that you will pay within 12 months, current liabilities of 10,000. And if we take all our equity and liability items and we add them together, you will see that your basic accounting equation is in balance, and you can communicate this fact to your users using the statement of financial position. I hope you found this to your benefit. Look forward to seeing you in the next question.